Hey all, Dr. Jared here, proud to be coming to you with part one of our two-part series on sleep. This series is something that I'm very proud to be bringing you, mostly because it's something we've never done before in 12 years and I don't know, 100 plus seminars. We've never exclusively focused enough time and energy to be confident to bring you a seminar exclusively on sleep and what it does for your body. And frankly, it's something we probably should have focused on more. And if you're watching this, it might be something you need to focus on more for a variety of reasons. But the reality is, sleep directly affects your neurology, your nerve system. Of course, what do we talk about all the time at the office? Your nerve system or your neurology controls every single function of your body. So, as I read to you out of one of the books that I studied, and many of our actual team members at the office are currently studying, I'm going to read an opening to one of the chapters. I want you to think about how can sleep affect so many things. And one of the things that we're going to specifically do on this first part of the masterclass is talk about 12 different tips and how they affect sleep, but why. The big thing that I want to really look at is why and how, if you're struggling with one of these things that we talk about, if you're working to get to the root cause of the problem, then frankly, you're able to get the outcome you want by finding the solution. So the book is called Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. Excellent book. Also, if you're not as much of a reader, but like more videos, he actually has about a 3-hour masterclass on this exact on the book where they go chapter by chapter. But I'm going to read to you the opening of chapter 6. It's called Amazing Breakthrough. Scientists have discovered a revolutionary new treatment that makes you live longer. It enhances your memory and makes you more creative. It makes you look more attractive. It keeps you slim and lowers food cravings. It protects you from cancer and dementia. It wards off colds and flu. It lowers your risk of heart attacks and stroke, not to mention diabetes. You'll even feel happier, less depressed, and less anxious. Are you interested? And of course, pretty bold statement, but how does that affect you, or how can that be so specific to so many things? And the reality is that your sleep is what changes the composition of your body, your hormones, what you produce, how you repair, what you remember. And so, the stages of sleep, there's basically two distinct differences in sleep. There's non-REM sleep, and then there's REM sleep. And you're probably familiar with the term REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement sleep. It's the deepest stage of sleep, or arguably the deepest stage of sleep. And in fact, your body becomes paralyzed with the exception of rapid eye movement. And that's why it's called REM sleep. But there's stage 1, lowest or easy, most wakefulness sleep, stage 2, 3, 4, and then REM. And then when you come out of it, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you go through these waves or these cycles. And one of the coolest things, because it's been studied so in depth, is that each part of the cycle and going through it continuously, ideally, is very important. Some of the non-REM cycles affect things like hormone production or body repair. Different parts of it affect how much you remember, how creative you are. And one of the big things that I really want to focus on, especially is now we've come through 3 years of, I'm just going to say higher stress living, what's called trauma processing. So sleep is essential for trauma processing. In fact, there is no known major psychiatric disorder that doesn't have severe sleep disturbances. So I'm going to say that again. There's no known major psychiatric disorder that doesn't have sleep disturbances or doesn't also have a process with sleep. Said oppositely, there's no known psychiatric issue that the person has normal, healthy sleep. So another way to talk about this is non-REM sleep is if you're sculpting, clay, is the bigger movements. REM sleep is the small, intricate, refined movements. And so you need to have both. And there are a lot of things that people do that inhibit your body getting good quality, especially REM sleep. There are certain medications, there's certain over-the-counter things, there's certain habits, there's certain things that people do that actually stop or inhibit the brain from going into deep REM sleep. And over time, that sleep loss, regardless of how many hours you're actually sleeping, can have a severely detrimental effect on your body. Now, some other things as you go through here, you notice it says it makes you live longer. Well, you can imagine if your body repairs, if you prevent disease. So, for example, people who get 7 to 9 hours of sleep have significantly decreased risk of the major killers: heart attacks, strokes, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and dementia. So think about that. Pretty big deal to get that type of sleep versus a group that gets maybe 5 or 6 hours of sleep. It has a huge impact on immune function. So warding off colds and flu. So sleep, you know, and if you've been in the office, hopefully you've heard us talk about how every time you get an adjustment, you stimulate your nerve system, which stimulates your immune response. And there's several different studies that show that people who are well adjusted have a stronger immune system. Well, there are also actually significantly more studies that show that getting enough sleep helps your immune system stay stronger. And I mean, think about innately, your body's innate when it knows what it needs to do. If you get sick, if you have a cold or a flu or whatever, what does your body want to do? It shuts down and it wants you to sleep, because sleep strengthens your immune system. It allows you to spend more energy in the right spots for where it needs to. Now, additionally, it says it lowers your risk of heart attacks and stroke. Well, things like blood pressure regulation are actually shown to be affected by the quality of sleep you get and the amount of hours of sleep that you get. Also, the amount of stress hormones you release, which is one of the reasons why when you release too many stress hormones, that you actually have higher blood sugar because of the stress hormone response. Additionally, and we'll talk more about this in the second series, but hitting the snooze button on your alarm clock every time your alarm goes off, you elevate your stress hormones and elevate your blood pressure to start the day. So it's one of those things where you might have to set an alarm, but hitting snooze can have a significant effect on that. But more than that, again, it's hormone production, and I already talked about diabetes. And then lastly, happier, less depressed, and less anxious. Now, how in the heck can that be? Well, you've probably seen somebody who has been too short of sleep for multiple nights, or maybe is pulling an all-nighter because they have to work 24 hours, whether they work at the hospital or they're plowing snow or whatever. But actually, when I say trauma processing, a lot of us would think of trauma with like severe traumas, post-traumatic stress disorder from being in the military or from seeing something awful, or traumas like abuse or rape or neglect or something like that. But actually, every person experiences some level of what would be considered trauma on a daily basis. That might be interactions with your coworkers. That might be while you're driving. That might be interactions with your children or a friend or whatever. But actually, the meaning that you associate with it is how you process the trauma. And so trauma processing is actually inhibited with a lot of things that many people do. And therefore, they can actually have an cumulative effect where they essentially shade negative or have an altered perception of reality, which can be very harmful or very detrimental to your health. And so we'll go through again how some of the things that you might be doing that could be inhibiting your trauma processing. To go with the tips, we're going to finish with some basic things that you can not only stop doing, but start doing. And if you've gotten to a point where you could use some help, some simple and low cost supplementation to help get your body back on track quicker and more effectively so that you can get the results that you want. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start with Number one, so 12 tips. We're going to go through this in order. 12 tips to healthy sleep. Have a normal sleep schedule or have a consistent sleep schedule. What does that mean? That means going to bed and getting up at a similar time each day, including the weekends, ideally. Now, again, this isn't saying, I'm not telling you you have to do this. What I'm telling you is this will help your sleep. So if you're somebody who struggles with sleep, I'll tell you the consequences of treating it differently, whether you're taking a sleeping pill or let's even just say a legal over-the-counter sleep aid like THC gummy or something like that. The effects, which we'll go into, are certainly more impactful than working toward a healthier sleep schedule. So the more frequently you go to bed and get up at the same time, the more you train your body and train your brain to release certain hormones that that specifically affect everything, I guess I'm going to say. But the hormones that I'm talking about are things that trigger you to want to fall asleep. So, for instance, lots of people take the supplement melatonin, and melatonin is great to fall asleep. It doesn't actually help you stay asleep. Additionally, if you take too much melatonin, it can actually inhibit your body's production of it. So, if you take too much of this supplement or take it for too long, you can actually create a dependence because your body naturally makes melatonin. And it makes melatonin based on things like the regular sleep schedule, but also, for instance, light and being exposed to outside. So there's even studies, and this to me is maybe a little extreme, but like wearing sunglasses or never going outside in any given day can actually inhibit melatonin production. And so when you're outside and your brain, through the brightness that's going into your eye, sees the time of day that it is, it can make more melatonin, make you more ready to sleep. There are also other hormones that build up throughout the day that create sleepiness. And certain things, like for instance, caffeine, actually block the receptors for you to know how sleepy you are, so you can continually make more and more of this hormone. But if you're drinking caffeine, for instance, in the afternoon, or actually, I've heard people say like, oh, I can drink a pot of coffee at night and I can go right to sleep. That's no problem. That might be true, but the quality of sleep you're getting is absolutely inhibited because of the caffeination that the person is consuming. So that's tip number one: stick to a sleep schedule. Second, exercise. And physically increasing the blood flow and wearing down your body is huge for helping your body want and need to sleep. So having a regular exercise routine can significantly help with getting quality reparative sleep. There's more than 1,000 studies that show that exercise boosts your mood. Obviously, it's good for your metabolism. It's good for your blood pressure. It's good for your heart. It's good for your detoxification. It's good for 50 other things. Here's the one caveat: you do not want to exercise within about 2 hours of going to sleep at night. And the reason is exercise raises your core body temperature. And so while raising your core body temperature does have a lot of benefits, including raising your temperature, just like how it's natural and healthy for you if you're sick to have a fever, raising your core body temperature does cause you to not be able to get into some of the deeper levels of sleep. So I'll talk about why later, but really you want to get your body temperature down by 2 to 3 degrees. That's when you'll get the best sleep. In fact, while this might vary person to person, what research shows is about the ideal temperature to sleep at is around 65 degrees. Some studies show 67, but somewhere between 65 and 67 degrees. So having it be cooler at night is actually really good for your sleep. And so I, for instance, can think of a practical example. For quite a while, the men's basketball, the Rockford City League, they had basketball games at 8, 9, and 10 o'clock at night. That's when the men's league was. And so while I personally love basketball, I really did not like, and in fact have stopped playing in that league, partially because the games are so late that it takes an hour or two after the game to be able to go to sleep. And I never knew the why. I just knew that I couldn't seem to fall asleep. And so it actually, that raising core body temperature, it can take several hours for that to go down. So exercise is essential for sleep, but not great for right before bed. Now, additionally, avoiding caffeine especially, but caffeine and nicotine both inhibit the receptors for the hormone that causes you to become sleepy. So, for instance, caffeine has a 5 to 7 hour half-life, meaning that it takes at least 5 to 7 hours for it to really start to wear off, but it can last in your system as long as 12 hours. So when you drink caffeine in the afternoon, so you can make an argument for not drinking caffeine at all, but there's a much stronger argument for not drinking caffeine in the afternoon because it can affect the receptors for your sleeping. So even if you can, again, go to sleep with caffeine in your system, it's more fragmented sleep. And I know a lot of people, they wear these watches and they say, I just don't know. It seems like I get really broken sleep. One of those reasons for many people is that they drink way too much caffeine and they drink it later in the day. So that might be one simple action step for you. Only drink caffeine in the morning. There are a lot of alternatives. In fact, I'm going to talk about two right now. I'm drinking one, or was drinking one. This is called Mud Water. So Mud Water is not a product that we carry, but it's $40 for 30 servings, and I'm going to try and get it. It's all these different mushrooms and adaptogenic herbs, and you stir it into hot water and then can put it with, if you have like a creamer or raw honey or something, but it's 1/7 the caffeine of a cup of coffee. And remember, a cup of coffee is like, 4 ounces or 6 ounces, depending on what you read. So when people say I have 1 cup a day and they drink, it's a 16-ounce cup, that's not 1 cup. But it has other ways to make you feel energized or boost your metabolism. And another one, and this is actually my favorite, I take this at least 3 to 4 days a week, but this is a product we carry called Max Fit. We originally developed it for the Olympic movement, specifically for the wrestlers, because it helps with metabolism and recovery from more intense workouts. But a couple of the things that it has in it, it has green coffee bean extract, decaffeinated, in fact, green coffee bean extract. So there's no caffeine, but some of the other parts of that coffee bean are able to stimulate metabolism, and metabolism is really what your body uses for energy. It's breaking down food and using it for energy. And it also has ashwagandha, which is a really high quality source of ashwagandha, which lowers your stress hormones. It's estimated that for the average person, it'll lower your stress hormone cortisol by 25% when you take it, which is a big, big deal. And I just mentioned something about quality. One of the things that this book talked about, and I've read in countless places, 90% of all supplements are a waste of your money. If you're not buying a high quality supplement, you are literally wasting your money, because they can use low quality processing. They can even lie about the dosage, because unchecked and unregulated supplements, they're not regulated by the FDA. So you have to intentionally pay extra money for third-party validation on the quality. And so it says right in that book that I showed you, the Why We Sleep, that people think they're taking melatonin, but most people who take melatonin, it's a placebo effect, because most melatonin on the market is so cheap and so crappy that it's not doing anything for their system. It's truly placebo, which is just fine, because placebo effect, doesn't have any side effects. But most people have no idea how much melatonin they're taking. The range, or the most common range to not really affect your bodies, or to decrease the likelihood that it affects your body's production of melatonin, is anywhere between 0.5 milligram and 3 milligrams. So our supplement Sleep and Mood, which I'll talk about later, has 3 milligrams of melatonin in it, along with an herb called 5-HTP. But for energy, I personally use Mud Water some afternoons if I need a little extra pick me up, and I routinely use Max Fit, especially on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays when we have those longer days at the office, or after days where we have an especially hard workout at the gym or something like that. But Max Fit, it can be a coffee or an afternoon caffeine replacement for you. and it's so easy to take. I would just strongly recommend it. Now, alcohol before bed. Again, we're not going to talk about necessarily the pros and cons of alcohol, although there are almost exclusively negative effects of alcohol. And I think most people know that. We know going into it that there's a cost benefit and they weigh the cost to the benefit. But here's the thing, a lot of people have a drink at night to go to sleep. And that couldn't be more harmful to your sleep schedule and to your mood. So alcohol, what it does is it create the metabolism of alcohol creates fragmented sleep. So you may notice that those people that go to sleep, they tend to wake up more in the middle of the night, or on their Fitbit or whatever they track their sleep on, they tend to have way more broken sleep, or they're up more often. Alcohol fragments sleep. So, I use the example, if you go back to like your parents' or grandparents' era, there's a lot of people who didn't have a drink till 5 o'clock, and then they had one drink for the day, whether that was their stress reliever or whatever. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but one of the reasons why they might have it that early, but not right before bed, and that just culturally may have made more sense, is that your body is able to metabolize it better. Now, the better thing to do is just not have a drink every night, but you definitely don't want to have one within an hour or a couple hours of going to sleep if you can avoid it, because again, it fragments your sleep. The second thing alcohol does that a lot of people don't realize is, again, it inhibits trauma processing. And why do a lot of people drink alcohol? It's to numb their brain when they're stressed. I'm stressed, therefore I drink. It inhibits trauma processing at night. And so that leads to, or is linked to, a lot more anxiety and depression. And that's also true of THC, by the way. So I'll just cover that. So is marijuana or THC a legal drug at this point? Yes. Could you argue some health benefits, or it's less toxic than alcohol? Sure. But there is a reality that if people are using it at night to sleep, they're inhibiting trauma processing. And if you actually look in the news or the media, or follow some stories, like random acts of violence, sleepwalking, where people like randomly stab their partner and they don't remember doing it and stuff like that. Those are most commonly linked with sleeping pills, but you can also actually see that with people who do those THC edibles at night. There was just one in Florida that I read about. Actually, that some of my friends knew. He was a colleague, and not in Max Living, but knew or went to school with some of the people that I'm friends with, and just was doing these at night and doesn't remember doing a horrible and harmful thing to his family member. And so what's the point? Cumulative effect of this. If you do it once, one night, does that affect you? Probably not. But if you do it every night, not only is there a dependence issue there, but it inhibits this trauma processing. And for me, one of the things I like to know, why do I need to avoid this? Because if I have a habit, I'm willing to change the habit or work to change the habit if I know what it's doing. And the fact that those things are so linked to depression and anxiety or negative moods, for me, that makes me not want to do those things. Now, I hope it does for you, but you have to weigh out and make that decision. And maybe you need more information. But again, alcohol, THC, sleeping pills, these are all linked. And again, I have to say at this point, like, sure, talk to your doctor or do your own research. I'm not telling you to take or not take any of these things, but I will tell you that they do have side effects. And the last thing that I'm just going to throw out there, how ironic, antidepressants, which a huge percentage of the US population is on, antidepressants inhibit trauma processing. So trauma processing, if you can't trauma process, you often become more depressed and anxious. And the pill that covers up or solves the problem, depending on what you want to call it, literally inhibits your body. And that's a huge part of where dependence is. And we can go into a lot of other reasons why there's dependence and anchoring for that. But, you just flat out can't have your cake and eat it too. You've heard that analogy, I'm certain, but all drugs have side effects. And it's just a reality that you don't know. The statistics are, you don't know 9 out of the 10 side effects or why they're affecting you and what's happening. Food and drink before bed. Essentially, the idea of this is some people can't avoid it. In fact, I'll openly say I get home late enough. I get home at night, usually around 7, depending on which shift and what we're doing and that sort of thing. My family, we go to bed at 8:30. We go to bed at 8:30 and we get up early. So it's hard to get dinner in and have 2 or 3 hours to let it digest. But we do intentionally have food prepped so that when I get home, I eat right away. Why? Because when you eat, your body sends a lot of blood flow to the area, and your body having to do more of that work to digest the food can affect the deep and quality sleep you get, the hormone production, all this stuff. And it's going to sound a little repetitive, so I'm going to start to go a little bit faster. But that's the reality, is that eating and then drinking, getting woken up at night because you have to go to the bathroom, things like that. So ideally, for instance, for energy, in fact, there's a couple of studies that show, getting up and just drinking like 12 or 16 ounces of water immediately, in some cases has as much a wake-up effect as drinking a cup of coffee. But not drinking right before bed or within an hour of going to bed can help you get deeper, higher quality sleep. I already mentioned sleep meds. So number 6 for tips are sleep medications. Sleep medications are absolutely horrible for you. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't take them, but they are absolutely horrible for you. The side effects are obnoxious. The amount of and here I'll give you something that's like Tylenol PM, or some people take Benadryl and stuff like that. Those are so linked to dementia that even the American Medical Association, which has a horrible track record for notifying patients the side effects of the drugs that they so openly recommend their doctors prescribe, requires medical doctors that if a patient is over the age 59 and a half, they have to tell them that they should stop taking Benadryl or Tylenol PM or these different NyQuils because of the such strong link to dementia and Alzheimer's. Now think about that. There's such a severe link, but yet if you're under 59 and a half, I guess it doesn't cause Alzheimer's. Give me a break. But these things, oh yeah, I take that, it helps me sleep, and I'm sure it does. But what other things? So what are we going back to? What other things can you do to decrease your need for those things? Some other things, screen time. So most of us have this fancy device, this computer in our pocket, and I can't tell you how many people I know just stare at that thing until right before they go to bed. Now here's something interesting, and I actually saw this with my children. It was like when we used to let them have an iPad later at night or watch a TV show. We used to only have one TV in the house, and I actually bought more because the iPads seemed to overstimulate their brain more. And then I read in this book about how the closer that a screen is to your face, the more melatonin production it inhibits. So again, that going to sleep hormone, it's inhibited the closer a screen is and the brighter the screen is to your face. And so I don't really fully understand why blue light specifically is so hard on your eyes, but electric light, so having bright lights on at night, having everything from having like clocks in the bedroom to street lights that pour in and not blacking out your bedroom. These things are shown to overstimulate your brain. So turning off screens and reading, there's a reason why that calms your brain. That screens and bright lights, and the closer and brighter the screen is to your face, the more damage it does. So think about that. As far as if you have trouble falling asleep, consider turning the screen off, especially the one closest to your face, 30 minutes or 60 minutes before you go to bed, whether you chat with your spouse, whether you read a book, whether you meditate, whether you pray, whatever you do. But that helps those hormones help get your body ready for bed. And additionally, dimming the lights or turning the lights off also does that. Next, number 7, taking naps after 3 p.m. So we're talking about if you work third shift or something, you're going to have to shift around some of these things. But taking naps after 3 p.m. also shown to throw off circadian rhythm. So if you need a nap, and there's actually a lot of links to taking a short 15 or 20-minute nap to creating memories. So like if you're trying to remember something, create the memory by taking a quick nap. Like if you studied for several hours or if your brain's overstimulated. The simplest way I would explain it, when you wake up, your brain waves are kind of like this. They go real slow, and your brain waves, as you're stimulated more, they go like this. They get faster and faster. Well, sleep or meditation can really calm these things down. So they make your brain waves go more like this again. So taking a nap and or meditating can make a big difference in this. Last one for today, number 8, relaxing before bed. So I already stated this essentially. Black out your room, get blackout curtains, turn the lights off, cover up the clock if you have an alarm clock in your room, avoiding hitting snooze. Anything you can do to calm yourself before bed can make a big difference. There's actually quite a bit of research about how when you're trauma processing, that you have to dream about the trauma in that state. You dream in stage 4 sleep and REM sleep. In those stages, that's how your brain processes and helps you get through that issue. And so as you get ready for bed, or as you get into those stages, you really want to think about how much value that sleep has for you. So what can you do to help your body get ready for it? So as far as action steps, we've gone through a lot, from not eating or drinking closer to bedtime, to avoiding caffeine at night, to avoiding certain medications or things like alcohol, THC, caffeine, nicotine. These things all have side effects, and really you're giving yourself the best chance to be the best version of yourself. So talking about supplements here for a moment, the other supplement I wanted to talk about is called Sleep and Mood. So Sleep and Mood has 3 milligrams of melatonin, and then it's got an herb called 5-HTP and a blend of several other like amino acids and things. But what 5-HTP does is actually stimulates the production of serotonin in your body, and also increases the permeability for serotonin to cross your blood-brain barrier. That's why it's called Sleep and Mood, because that increased serotonin helps with higher quality sleep. It also helps with mood, your body making more of it. Now, some of these supplements that I'm sharing with you, you may notice that you don't have to take them forever. It's not like a multivitamin. So, for instance, Max Fit, I take on longer days, or days that I would otherwise wear myself out and I need some extra energy and I don't want to do caffeine in the afternoon. Same thing with that mud water. Sleep and Mood is a supplement that lots and lots of people have found benefit in, and you want to try a month. But usually you're going to do about 3 to 6 months of it, and then maybe do 1 to 2 bottles a year, just more as a maintenance dose. So I hope you found that helpful. I hope you found a strong amount of actionable items in that. And I hope you also understand the why. If you have any questions or you want more information, please feel free to email us at chiropracticfirst811@gmail.com. You can send us a direct message on YouTube or on Facebook. And also you can talk to any of our doctors at the office. And again, if you need a great book, Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker is just an excellent book for a lot more of the whys. The mystery word, is cool. Cool, COOL, cool. Have a very blessed day.